I even like the picture they picked. You know what I mean? The whole Alice in Wonderland, the Queen. You know, I admired the artistry and the message behind it. But here it is. It is time to throw the monarchies of the world into the dustbin of history. I would agree. I mean, if it's the glue that really keeps a culture together, but really, when so many people are suffering and so many people don't have enough money and inflation and, you know, the cost of living, I mean, well, the royals are oligarchs, okay? First of all, I'm sorry. I don't see why would you worship that? They are guardians of their class. Exactly. They think they're better than everyone. What is that? The world's largest, I mean, come on. I mean, I know there's aristocrats still to this day, but very different and very, you know, a lot less of them than they used to be. Okay. The world's largest landowners include King Mohammed VI of Morocco with 176 million acres. The Holy Roman Catholic Church, which is its own country, by the way, with 177 million acres. The heirs of King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia with 531 million acres, and now King Charles III, who has never worked a day in his life, guys, but now he's going to rule everybody. This is insane. If England was my country, as if it was my company, right? I would not do that. A guy in his 70s that's never worked. What? Come on. But if you really want to keep giving them money just to pretend because you just like the act, that's a lot of money. And they're not really acting that much. They're not producing movies. You get my point. So the British monarchs are worth almost 28 billion. Billion with a B. Billion. The British public will provide a 33 million subsidy to the royal family over the next 2 years. Although the average household in the UK saw its income fall for the longest period since records began in 1955. And 227,000 households experience homelessness in Britain. I'm going to take a pause right there. And I definitely recommend that you look up this article. But that's what I'm getting at here. Why? What are they doing? Are they saving lives? Are they producing jobs? What are they doing? I'm just minimizing it. But what this whole concept of queen, I get it back in the day when we didn't know any better. But we know better now. Queen of what? Unless she can walk on water, he, she, whoever, you're not king. That's not king. That's not king. You know what I mean? And I'm unapologetic about that. And you're definitely not my king or queen. Again, you're not even elected. And it's only through a certain bloodline. And don't give me this crap about the bloodlines, because even King Charles now, the third, who started the WEF and the Great Reset and Build Back Better, planning this before he even has a job, so setting the stage for himself, that shows he's actually pretty smart. I'll give you that. I'll give you that much, Charles. But now what? At the end of the day, he comes from Vladimir Kondracula. You guys know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments. Like, that's it. Oh, because if you're not from this bloodline, you can't be king. What? What's so special about this bloodline? Again, can they walk on water? Where are their special magic tricks? And that's me being nice and just being totally superficial about how this has got to go. This is going to continue division and acting like there's higher classes and that we're never going to go anywhere. We're never going to actually progress as long as we don't have a standard where everyone deserves the same lifestyle. And I'm not talking communism where if you don't work or you can work half-ass and you get the same house paycheck as me while I'm working my ass off. No. That's not what I'm getting at. We have enough with politicians and they suck. Let me see. I'm going to read what you guys have to say. What's going on? What do you think about this whole queen thing? Honestly. Not the queen. Like I said, may she rest in peace. But what are we doing here? Why is it immediately, oh, he's king. Let's not drop the ball here. Because who would want to miss an opportunity to make money for nothing? And then have power. And they act like a god. And why are they preserving it? And something else also, where Russell Brand in one of his recent clips, I think he's on point. He delivers his thoughts and he shares them very well. I like him very much. And I feel his sincerity. I think he's got a good soul. But we have different styles. I'm all about let's shoot the shit and hang out. Be serious, but with some fun, right? And mind you, he's an actor, comedian. He's still doing his stand-up. So I'm just going to play the last, from this point on, because of what he has to say about his take. But maybe you could say he's saying it nicer than me, that things need to change. Even if he is in defense of the monarchy, there's something lacking. Discussion has to be had.
Coming together and values. But we have to be honest about what this symbol might represent at its core and what the impact of the monarchy is on a culture. And we have to investigate whether or not we're living at a time of unprecedented inequality. I am in no way suggesting being disrespectful about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. What I'm suggesting is we interrogate the nature of power. We interrogate the nature of hierarchical power. We interrogate the nature of fairness, freedom of speech, the inability to protest, civil rights. These are all things where I want.
So he's going on, and I just like the way he said that about
what this symbol might represent at its core and what the impact of the monarchy is on a culture. And we have to investigate whether or not we're living at a time of unprecedented inequality.
There you go, whether or not we're living in an unprecedented inequality. That's the conversation to be had before they go scooping up the money and just go ahead and just sit in that chair. Just, you know what I mean? Not letting it empty for a second. You think if we said, you know what? We're going to end it. What's Charles going to do? What are they all going to do? You know what I mean? Can you imagine he would have to get a job, be useful, do work, or start a company offering something helpful for humanity? Please, please, please. I know. They're burying her. Things are happening as we speak, but he's already now king. And what? I wonder how quickly things are going to change. What is he going to offer? She just kept the facade. She kept the fort. She held the fort up. What's he going to do? Because now more than ever, we need leaders to lead the people, to stand by the people, to support and represent the people. But too often in history, those who are up there that have all that power, they don't give a shit about you. So then why would you be crying or mourning or wanting to hold on to this? You clearly just want, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, it's like being in quicksand and like, no, leave me here. I'd rather this quicksand and I'll die. There's a disconnect with reality. It's like people that are big into celebrities. Like they're gods. What are you talking about? They lie for a living. They act, they pretend. And then whenever they do open their mouth with politics, as we saw last week when I, mentioned the Jennifer Lawrence and all these little, I'm afraid of Tucker and the politics between her and her family and all that. It's like, stay in your lane. This needs to change. There's no room for it. There's no need for it. It's ridiculous. It's like waiting for Santa Claus at 25 years old. Okay, now here's a magazine, which I believe it's supposedly more on the left-leaning, Vice, but just goes to show you, I read everything, because I want to know what's in people's heads or how they're brainwashing each other, honestly. And here, a matter of fact, in the one Russell Brand video I was just sharing with you guys, I think he has the same person sharing a sign, but it says, not my king and my king spelled all together. He was like, I don't think I have a problem with the not my king part. I have more of a problem with the my king missing that space. So of course, and the way he delivers it is funny. It's cute. So yeah, so the article is, these former colonies say the British monarchy owes them 45 trillion. Now, this is not the first time I've seen people in, Africa, right? Saudi Arabia, those countries, Northern Africa, where they're like going to Spain years ago and they're like, that castle that we built it, the Moors built it, it's ours. We want it back or we want the money for it. It's crazy. So, okay. So I started reading this article. Like I said, what's wrong with abolish the monarchy? It says a storm has been brewing around the legacy of the late Queen Elizabeth II monarchy. Much of the UK is caught in grand gestures of grief over their queen, and reportedly exorbitant state funeral preparations are currently underway, which that's a fact. I'm sure you've seen it. And ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry. I understand they're doing tradition, but then when is it going to close that chapter? Like treating these people like they are gods on earth. This is just, that's the biggest problem I have with this whole thing. Elizabeth II's net worth was 442 million. According to one estimate, this is a pretty hefty number that, according to Royal Public Records, is funded partly by its taxpayers to the tune of over 100 million annually. Swallow that. From a country of 67 million people, and partly by the royal family's inherited private and commercial real estate, but for many, from Elizabeth II's former colonies, extravagance of the British monarchy, even in death, underpins the dark realities of not just violent colonization, but also extreme drain of wealth from their countries. In the former British colony of the undivided India, that number comes to a whopping 45 trillion. It's a discussion to be had. There's a lot to be said. And what are we waiting for? Okay, so we bury her. Is 2 weeks good enough? Is 3 weeks good enough? Like, what? How often do they give when somebody gets fired or laid off? How much notice do they get? Okay, give them a little severance package, right? Did you see the documentary on Netflix about Seville? Look him up, please, and see how close, what kind of a person he was, and how close he was to this family. Okay, let's start there. Let's just start there. Simple.